the point negative radical 2 over 2 comma radical 2 over 2 is the point at which the terminal ray of angle theta intersects the unit circle. What are the values of cosine and cotangent functions for angle theta? Okay, here's a key phrase right here. Intersects the unit circle. They're just telling us that this point is on the unit circle. So let's draw a little diagram, and the main point of this diagram is to think about what quadrant we're in. So the x value is negative and the y value is positive. That means we're to the left and up. So this point is in the second quadrant. So keep that in mind. We are in the second quadrant. Okay? Now, remember that on the unit circle, cosine is equal to the x value, and sine is equal to the y value. So we're given the x value and the y value. So we're given that cosine is equal to negative radical 2 over 2. And we're given that sine is equal to positive radical 2 over 2. Okay. Whenever we do these unit circle type problems, we're always talking about x, y, and r. Okay, so I've been talking about x and y. Now, what about r? Well, remember this statement that they made at the beginning. It intersects the unit circle at this point. In other words, this point is on the unit circle. So right away that tells us that the radius is 1. All right, that's why they call it the unit circle. So we know x, we know y, and we also know r because r is 1. So with all that information, we should be able to say any trig function. So let's see. They're asking us for cosine and cotangent. So we've got cosine right from the beginning because that was x. So now let's find cotangent. Okay, well look, whenever they ask me for cotangent, I always start with tangent because I'm really familiar with tangent. And then I know these are reciprocals, so whatever I get for tangent, I'll just take the reciprocal. But I know that tangent is y over x. Okay, just memorize that, write that down. Well, we have y and x right here. Notice that other than one is positive and one is negative, these are the same. So if I divide these by each other, I'm going to get negative 1. So the tangent is equal to negative 1. And again, that's because the y value is radical 2 over 2, and the x value is negative radical 2 over 2. Alright, anything divided by itself is 1. And then I've got the negative sign, so it's negative 1. Alright, fine. So that's the tangent. So what about the cotangent? Well, what's the reciprocal of negative 1? The reciprocal of negative 1 is still negative 1. You can think of the reciprocal as putting a 1 over something. So if I have 3, the reciprocal is going to be 1 over 3. If I have q, the reciprocal would be 1 over q. So if I have negative 1, the reciprocal would be 1 over negative 1. But that just equals negative 1, so it doesn't change. Alright, so let's just look for the answers now. So cosine negative radical 2 over 2. So that narrows it down to either the first one or the last one. But then the cotangent should be -1, and that's the first one.